James Sullivan tears up his wedding invitation list, watching expensive paper flutter to his office floor like broken promises. 23 names of women who loved his bank account more than his heart. The scent of jasmine perfume still lingers from his latest disappointment's visit an hour ago. His assistant buzzes through the intercom with urgent news. The biggest deal of his career needs his signature by midnight, or everything crumbles. Before we begin, tell me where you're listening from, and tap subscribe so you never miss a story.
James storms out of Sullivan Industries' glass tower, his Italian leather shoes clicking against marble floors. His assistant, Jennifer Thompson, hurries behind him, clutching a stack of contracts worth $50 million. "Sir, the merger documents need your review," she calls breathlessly. "Not now, Jennifer," James snaps, loosening his silk tie. "I need air." "But Mr. Chen expects your signature by midnight," she protests. The revolving door spits him out onto the busy sidewalk, where the October wind cuts through his tailored suit. Street vendors lined the crowded avenue, their colorful stands a sharp contrast to the sterile corporate world he just escaped. Steam rises from a small dumpling cart on the corner, carrying the rich aroma of ginger and soy sauce. Behind the modest stand stands a young woman with flour-dusted aprons and genuine smile lines around her eyes. "Fresh dumplings, sir?" she calls out cheerfully. "Made this morning with love." James finds himself walking toward her cart, drawn by something he can't quite name. Her voice carries warmth that no boardroom has heard in years. "How much?" he asks, surprised by his own question. The dumpling seller's name tag reads Emma Miller in simple black letters. She wipes her hands on her apron and studies his expensive suit with curious eyes, rather than calculating ones. $8 for 6 dumplings, she says honestly. "They're worth every penny, I promise." "I'll take 12, James replies, pulling out his wallet. Emma's eyebrows rise slightly at his casual tone, but she begins carefully selecting the best dumplings from her steamer. Her movements are practiced and graceful, each dumpling placed with genuine care. "Business meeting?" she asks conversationally, nodding toward his formal attire. "Something like that," James answers, watching her work with unexpected fascination. Back at Sullivan Industries, his phone buzzes incessantly with messages from investors. The Chen merger deadline looms at midnight, just 8 hours away. This deal could make or break his company's future, yet he finds himself more interested in this woman's honest smile than corporate profits. "You look stressed," Emma observes, handing him a steaming container. "These will help. My grandmother's secret recipe." James accepts the warm package, their fingers briefly touching through the thin cardboard. James bites into the first dumpling and closes his eyes involuntarily. The flavors explode across his palate. Tender pork, fresh chives, and something undefinably comforting that speaks of home-cooked meals and family dinners. "This is incredible," he murmurs, opening his eyes to find Emma watching him expectantly. "Really?" she asks, her face lighting up with genuine pride. "Most people just grab and go. Most people don't know what they're missing," James replies, surprised by his own honesty. Emma laughs, a musical sound that cuts through the city's constant hum of traffic and conversation. Her joy seems effortless, unforced, so different from the practiced charm he encounters daily. "I've been perfecting that recipe for 3 years, she confesses, wiping down her counter with practiced efficiency. Every batch is a little experiment. James finds himself leaning against her cart, forgetting about meetings and mergers. Her enthusiasm is infectious, reminding him of a time when his own work brought similar satisfaction. "What made you choose dumplings?" he asks, genuinely curious. "They bring people together," Emma answers simply. "Food is love you can taste." His phone buzzes again with another urgent message from Jennifer. Emma notices James's phone lighting up repeatedly and frowns with concern rather than annoyance. Her expression shows the kind of genuine worry usually reserved for close friends and family. "Someone needs you," she observes softly. "Important business?" "A merger that could change everything," James admits, surprising himself with his candor. $50 million deal. Emma's eyes widen, but she doesn't seem intimidated by the enormous sum. Instead, she looks thoughtful, as if considering the weight of such responsibility. "That sounds overwhelming," she says with sincere empathy. "No wonder you look stressed." "It's just money," James replies, then pauses at his own words. When did he start thinking of 50 million as just money? "Money matters," Emma says gently, "but not more than peace of mind." Her simple wisdom hits him like a revelation. In his world, peace of mind is a luxury few can afford. Yet this humble dumpling seller seems to possess it naturally. "I should go," he says reluctantly, pocketing his phone. "But I'll be back." "I'll be here," Emma promises, her smile warm and uncomplicated. James walks toward his building, glancing back once to see her serving another customer with the same genuine warmth she showed him.
The next morning, Victoria Carter struts into James's office wearing a red designer dress that costs more than most people's monthly salary. Her perfectly manicured nails plick against his mahogany desk as she perches on its edge like a predatory bird. "Darling, I heard about your little merger celebration. I simply must plan the perfect party." "Victoria, we broke up 3 months ago," James reminds her, not looking up from his computer screen. "Oh, that silly misunderstanding. I'm over it completely." Victoria moves closer, her expensive perfume overwhelming the office air. Everything about her screams calculated perfection, from her surgical enhancements to her practiced pout. "James, we're perfect together," she continues, trailing a finger along his shoulder. "My family connections, your business empire." "You mean my money," he corrects flatly. "Don't be crude." Victoria laughs, but her eyes flash with irritation. "I prefer to think of it as mutual benefit." James checks his watch. Almost noon. Emma will be serving lunch customers at her humble cart, offering genuine smiles with every dumpling. The contrast couldn't be more striking. Victoria follows James's gaze toward the window overlooking the street below. Her perfectly sculpted face twists into an expression of disgust as she spots Emma's modest dumpling cart among the vendors. "Ugh, street food. The city should ban those unsanitary carts." "They provide honest work," James defends, surprising them both with his sharp tone. "Honest?" Victoria laughs mockingly. "They're probably avoiding health inspectors and taxes." Something protective flares in James's chest. He knows nothing about Emma's business practices, but her character shines through every interaction they've shared. "Not everyone inherits their lifestyle, Victoria," he says coldly. Victoria's face flushes with anger at his implied criticism. She's never worked a day in her privileged life, living off family money and strategic relationships. "I see you've developed a taste for common things," she says with venom. "How quaint." "I've developed a taste for authenticity," James corrects, standing from his desk. "You should try it sometime." Victoria's mask of perfection slips, revealing the calculating woman beneath. Her voice drops to a threatening whisper. Victoria pulls out her phone and shows James a series of photographs, images of Emma's dumpling cart taken from various angles, including close-ups of her permits and license numbers. "I did some research on your little street vendor friend," she says with malicious satisfaction. "You had her investigated?" James asks, dangerously quiet. "Public records, darling. Did you know she's behind on her vendor permit renewal fees?" James feels ice forming in his stomach as Victoria continues her revelation. Emma's financial struggles become clear through Victoria's cruel recitation of bureaucratic details. $300 in fines, one missed payment from losing her license permanently. "What do you want?" James asks bluntly. "Dinner tonight, the Ritz-Carlton, 8 o'clock. Wear something that remembers your proper place in society." She moves toward his office door, pausing to deliver her final threat. "Refuse, and I make a few phone calls to city health inspectors. Amazing how quickly permits can be revoked for mysterious violations." The office door closes behind her with a soft click. James rushes down to Emma's cart, his heart pounding with urgency. She's serving a customer with her usual warm efficiency, completely unaware of the threat hanging over her small business. "Emma," I call out, slightly breathless from his hurried descent. "James," she exclaims with genuine delight.
You came back. Same order as yesterday? Actually, I need to talk to you about your permit renewal. Emma's smile fades as confusion crosses her features. She finishes with her customer before turning back to him with worried eyes. How do you know about that? It doesn't matter, James replies quickly. What matters is fixing it. I can help. Emma's expression shifts from confusion to something approaching hurt. The easy trust she showed him yesterday begins to crumble as she processes his knowledge of her private struggles. Who told you? She presses, her voice becoming smaller and more defensive. Did you research me? Like some kind of business deal? Before James can explain, Emma starts packing up her supplies with quick, efficient movements.
Emma's hands shake as she closes her dumpling steamer, the metal lid clanging shut with unusual force. Steam escapes from the edges, creating a barrier between her and James like morning fog. "I thought you were different," she whispers, her voice barely audible above street traffic. "I am different," James insists, stepping closer to her cart. "Emma, please listen." "Different men don't investigate women they just met," she replies, her tone mixing hurt with growing anger. James realizes how his concern must appear from her perspective. Wealthy man suddenly knowing intimate details about her financial struggles. The kindness he intended feels like manipulation from her side. "Someone else looked into your background," he explains desperately. "I'm trying to protect you." Emma stops packing and stares at him with newfound wariness. Her open, trusting demeanor has vanished, replaced by the guarded expression of someone who's been disappointed before. "Protect me from what?" she asks suspiciously. "From someone who wants to hurt you to get to me," James admits. Emma's face pales as the implications sink in. She glances around nervously, suddenly seeing potential threats in every passing stranger. "I don't understand," she says softly. "I just sell dumplings." James pulls out his phone and shows Emma Victoria's photo, her red dress and predatory smile filling the screen. Emma studies the image with growing comprehension and fear. "She's beautiful," Emma observes quietly. "Your ex-girlfriend?" "Someone from my past who won't stay there," James explains grimly. Emma looks down at her flour-stained apron and worn sneakers, then back at Victoria's polished perfection. The contrast is stark and painful. "She's more your type," Emma says with forced casualness. "Rich, sophisticated, elegant." "She's everything I'm tired of," James counters firmly. "Fake, calculating, empty." Emma searches his face for deception, but finds only sincerity. Still, the fear remains in her eyes, not just of Victoria's threats, but of the wider implications. "Your worlds don't mix with mine," she says sadly. "Look what's already happening. My world needs more people like you. Honest, genuine, real." Emma begins loading her cart supplies into worn cardboard boxes, her movements efficient despite her emotional turmoil. "Real doesn't pay permit renewal fees," she says bitterly. "Real doesn't fight off rich women with connections." James reaches toward her, wanting to offer comfort, but she steps away. Later that evening, James sits across from Victoria at the Ritz-Carlton's most expensive restaurant. Crystal glasses reflect candlelight, while servers glide between tables like silent shadows. "You look handsome when you brood, darling," Victoria comments, cutting her Wagyu beef with surgical precision. "Let's get this over with," James replies curtly. "What's your real agenda?" Victoria's laugh tinkles like expensive wind chimes, drawing appreciative glances from nearby diners who recognize her from society pages. "Can't a woman simply want to rekindle romance?" she asks innocently. "Not when that woman is you," James answers bluntly. Victoria's mask slips briefly, revealing a flash of genuine anger before her practiced smile returns. She leans forward conspiratorially. "I know you've been visiting that dumpling girl," she whispers. "Slumming can be fun, but it's time to remember who you really are." "I know exactly who I am," James states firmly. "Do you? A billionaire CEO eating street food like some common tourist?" She signals for more wine, her movements graceful and commanding. Every gesture speaks of privilege and power, qualities that once impressed him. "Your little charity case will only drag you down," Victoria continues coldly. James's phone buzzes with an urgent text from Jennifer. "City health inspectors just shut down Emma's cart. No explanation given. Victoria Carter's assistant called them an hour ago." His blood turns to ice as he realizes Victoria's threat wasn't idle. Emma is already paying the price for his involvement in her life. "You didn't waste any time," he says, showing Victoria the message. She examines her manicured nails with feigned innocence, her smile triumphant and cruel. "I have no idea what you mean," she lies smoothly. "Though I did mention public health concerns to some city officials." James stands abruptly, his chair scraping against marble floors. Other diners turn to stare, but he no longer cares about social appearances. "This isn't over," he warns. "Oh, but it is," Victoria replies confidently. "Your little dumpling cellar is finished. Come back when you're ready to be reasonable." James strides toward the restaurant exit, his mind racing with plans to help Emma recover from this devastating blow. Victoria calls after him sweetly, "Give my regards to your street vendor friend, if she's still in business tomorrow." The restaurant door closes behind him with finality.
James arrives at Emma's usual corner to find empty pavement where her cart once stood. Yellow health department notices flutter in the wind, their official seals stark against the gray concrete. A nearby vendor, an elderly man selling newspapers, shakes his head sympathetically as James approaches. "Terrible shame," the man says sadly. "Emma's cart was cleanest on the whole block." "Where is she now?" James asks urgently. "Went home crying," the newspaper vendor replies. "Poor girl worked so hard for that little business." James pulls out his phone and calls his lawyer, Tom Walker, immediately. The phone rings twice before connecting. "Tom, I need you to fight a health department citation," James says without preamble. "Someone with connections orchestrated a fraudulent inspection." "That's serious business, James," Tom warns. "Fighting City Hall requires evidence of corruption." "Then find the evidence," James demands. "I don't care what it costs." The newspaper vendor listens with growing interest, recognizing the determination in James's voice. "You really care about that girl," the old man observes approvingly. "She deserves someone who fights for her." James ends his call and looks around the empty corner with growing desperation. Finding Emma becomes his only priority. James drives through Emma's neighborhood, a modest area of older apartments and small family businesses. His luxury sedan stands out like a beacon among the practical cars lining narrow streets. He stops at a corner grocery store, hoping someone knows Emma's address. The store owner, Mrs. Thompson, eyes him suspiciously until he mentions Emma's name. "You're the businessman she mentioned?" Mrs. Thompson says, her expression softening. "She spoke highly of you." "I need to help her," James explains earnestly. "Where does she live?" Mrs. Thompson studies his face carefully, weighing his sincerity against her protective instincts. "Apartment 3B, Blue Building on Maple Street," she finally reveals. "But she's not talking to anyone right now." James thanks her and drives the remaining blocks to Emma's building. The structure is older but well-maintained, showing the pride of working-class residents. He climbs 3 flights of stairs, each step heavy with the weight of his responsibility for Emma's situation. "Emma," he calls, knocking gently on her door. "It's James. Please let me explain." Silence stretches from behind the door, but he can sense her presence on the other side. "I know you're there," he continues softly, "and I know this is my fault." The door opens just a crack, revealing Emma's tear-stained face. She's changed from her work clothes into simple jeans and a sweater, looking smaller and more vulnerable without her professional apron. "Go away, James," she whispers. "You've done enough damage." "I can fix this," he insists. "My lawyers are already working on it." Emma opens the door wider, but her expression remains guarded and hurt. "Fix it with money?" she asks bitterly. "That's your solution to everything, isn't it?" "I'm trying to make this right," James protests. "You can't," Emma replies sadly. "Don't you see? This is what happens when your world touches mine." She gestures toward a stack of bills on her small kitchen table, rent notices, permit fees, and health department fines that have multiplied overnight. "I was barely getting by before," Emma continues, her voice breaking. "Now I owe thousands in fines and legal fees." James sees her modest apartment for the first time, clean but sparse, decorated with personal touches that speak of creativity despite limited resources. "I can help you start over," he offers desperately. "I can provide capital for a new business." Emma's laugh is hollow and painful to hear. Emma walks to her apartment window, overlooking the street where children play and neighbors chat on stoops. This community represents everything genuine that James's world lacks. "You don't understand," she says quietly. "This isn't just about money or permits." "Then help me understand," James pleads, joining her at the window. "Look around," Emma says, gesturing toward her simple home. "This is who I am. These people, this neighborhood, this life." James follows her gaze, seeing the community through her eyes, not as poverty to escape, but as belonging to protect. "Your ex-girlfriend was right about one thing," Emma continues painfully. "We don't belong in the same world." "We can create our own world," James suggests desperately. Emma turns from the window to face him directly, her expression resolving into painful determination. "I got a call an hour ago," Emma announces quietly. "Health Department. If I pay all fines and penalties within 3 hours, they'll consider permit reinstatement." James checks his watch. 9 p.m. The deadline is midnight. "That's wonderful news," he begins, but Emma cuts him off. "It's $12,000, James," she says flatly. "Money I don't have and can't borrow." The apartment falls silent, except for the sound of children playing in the street below.
James pulls out his checkbook immediately, but Emma places her hand over his to stop him. Her touch is gentle but firm, carrying the weight of a decision she's already made. "I can't take your money," she says quietly. "It would change everything between us." "Emma, be practical," James urges. "12,000 is nothing to me." "That's exactly the problem," she replies sadly. "It's everything to me, but nothing to you." James realized his wealth had become a barrier rather than a bridge. Every solution he offers comes with strings that threaten Emma's independence and self-worth. "Then what do you want me to do?" he asked desperately. "Watch you lose everything?" "I want you to understand that some things can't be bought," Emma answers. "Love, respect, genuine connection, they have to be earned." She moves away from the window toward her small kitchen, where she begins making tea with practiced motions that speak of evening rituals and simple comforts. "My grandmother used to say that the best relationships grow slowly. Like her dumpling recipe, each ingredient matters, but rushing ruins everything." James watches her precise movements, recognizing the same care she put into her food. Emma pours tea into mismatched cups, the steam carrying the scent of jasmine and hope. She offers James a cup, their fingers touching briefly as he accepts it. "I have an idea," she says suddenly, her eyes lighting up with familiar determination. "But it requires trust from both of us." "Anything," James responds immediately. "Give me 3 hours to try something first. If it doesn't work, then we'll discuss your help." James checks his watch again. 9:30 p.m. Time is running desperately short for any alternative plan. "What are you going to do?" he asks, concerned by her mysterious confidence. "Remember what I said about food bringing people together?" Emma asks, moving toward her small closet and pulling out her worn apron. She ties the apron strings with determined precision, transforming from defeated victim back into the confident entrepreneur he first met. "I'm going to make dumplings, and you're going to help me sell them." "Emma, your cart was impounded," James reminds her gently. "Who needs a cart?" she replies with growing excitement. "I have something better. Community." Emma grabs her phone and begins dialing numbers from a worn address book, her voice becoming stronger with each call. Within an hour, Emma's small apartment is bustling with neighbors who've brought folding tables, portable burners, and ingredients. Mrs. Thompson arrives with flour and vegetables, while other residents contribute whatever they can spare. "Emma helped my daughter find work last year," explains Mr. Baker, setting up a table on the sidewalk. "Time to return the favor." James watches in amazement as the entire neighborhood transforms into an impromptu restaurant. String lights appear from various apartments, creating a warm glow over the makeshift dining area. "People here take care of each other," Emma explains to James as she begins mixing dumpling dough. "That's something money can't buy." James rolls up his sleeves and joins the assembly line, learning to fold dumplings under the patient instruction of elderly neighbors. His expensive suit gets flour-stained, but he's never felt more useful. "You're not bad at this," Emma observes, watching his clumsy but determined efforts. "I have a good teacher," he replies, meeting her eyes across the makeshift counter. By 11 p.m., the smell of cooking dumplings fills the entire block, drawing curious customers from surrounding neighborhoods. As midnight approaches, Emma counts the growing stack of bills with trembling hands. Neighbors, friends, and strangers have bought dumplings, shared stories, and contributed to what's become an impromptu block party. 11,400, Emma announces to the waiting crowd. "We're almost there." James reaches for his wallet to contribute the remaining amount, but Emma shakes her head firmly. "Trust the community," she whispers. "Trust us." A black sedan pulls up to the curb, and Victoria Carter steps out wearing designer heels completely inappropriate for sidewalk dining. She surveys the scene with obvious disgust. "How quaint," she says loudly. "A little street fair." The neighbors sense trouble and form a protective semicircle around Emma's operation. These are people who've faced adversity together and won't be intimidated by one woman's entitled attitude. "We're closed to you," Mrs. Thompson announces firmly, crossing her arms. Victoria laughs mockingly, but James sees uncertainty flicker in her eyes as she faces genuine community solidarity. "Last call for dumplings!" Emma shouts, her voice carrying hope and determination. "Help us save a dream!" The final customers step forward, and Emma counts the last bills as the clock strikes midnight exactly. $12,050, she exclaims triumphantly. James watches Emma embrace her neighbors with genuine gratitude, realizing that real wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in the connections we build with others. Sometimes the most valuable things in life can't be bought. They must be earned through kindness, authenticity, and the courage to let others help us grow.